Thank you all for coming to join us for a brief discussion regarding the intersection of luxury, sports, entertainment, and literally any kind of events that just creates a big change or a spike in economics. So I'm going to sort of give my panelists, I guess just down the line, explain who you are, what you do, and how you got invited to this panel.
That's the harder question. Hi, I'm Isaac Colazo with STR. I lead the analytics team there at STR. And for those of you who don't know what STR is, we benchmark the hotel industry. So anytime you see something on the hotel industry like occupancy, rate, RevPAR, that's us. I don't know how I got invited. I just got invited.
Just data, you know. Who
Just
needs
data.
it? Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Sorensen. I'm a partner with Circle, which is a guest experience agency. We were calling ourselves an omni-channel guest experience agency for a while until everybody started using that term, so now we're just back to guest experience. We sort of have our hands in anything and everything you can imagine that a guest would touch, so we'll get more into that as we talk.
And my name is Andrew. I work for MGM Resorts International here in Las Vegas, leading their citywide event strategy team. So MGM Resorts, if you don't know, is about 50% of the Las Vegas Strip. And so anytime that there is a massive event in Las Vegas, how we monetize and how we approach that event from MGM Resorts perspective is a little bit different because we have 12 resorts right next to each other.
And I'm Rika. My day job is to run development in the eastern part of the U.S. for Hyatt Hotels luxury and lifestyle brand. And then sort of by just sheer interest and kind of family ties, my husband is in entertainment, so I've sort of grown up on the hospitality and entertainment side. So one of the things that we were very thrilled about when Vanilla reached out to us and asked to put together this panel is the fact that in recent years there's definitely a blur between all of these disciplines, right? And hospitality leaning into partnerships, and then you have big events partnering up with hospitality, whether that's hotels or just food and beverage or other partnerships. And of course, speaking to Mr. MGM here and the Reset Grand Prix, like I feel with the Formula One, you know, maybe just explain a little bit how you're seeing the industry changing and how these events truly changed the entire landscape. And then of course, dipping into some of that fact-based, the numbers behind it.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, last weekend no, 2 weeks since now. My weeks are off.
Gonna close the door.
We hosted the Las Vegas Grand Prix. What we've started to see, and this is mainly in Vegas now, is this intersection of sports, entertainment, and luxury. And so, you know, it started with the Golden Knights. We built T-Mobile Arena. T-Mobile Arena is unique in that it has, you know, threads of the Las Vegas culture in it. There's a nightclub inside of it. The way that Vegas has approached sports and entertainment is very unique. And if you have ever went to a game at Allegiant Stadium, you'll see the same thing. And now that we are this kind of sports mecca, for lack of a better word, we've now become the desirable location to see your favorite sports team. So whether you're, you know, a fan of a New York team or a fan of a Colorado team, whether it be hockey or football, you look at that calendar. If you're going to travel for a game, you're going to travel to Las Vegas. We have more visitors coming here from the visiting team than we do locals because of how we approach sports in this town. And Las Vegas Grand Prix is another testament of that. We, you know, we are the largest or the highest ticket price in any kind of sport that you see because of the demand that you see, whether it's hockey, NFL, or Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Well, and also I would say the way that Las Vegas has sort of managed to revenue manage the entire city, right? And sort of having this ability to sort of lay out almost a calendar of event, whether that's with things like this event, but also with, you know, residencies or the sports games, and really being able to kind of look and change the city. And I know you were talking before about a little bit of a dead week kind of in between, and you just, well, not just you personally, but sort of coming together sort of with other hospitality and sort of local politicians. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
So it was interesting. It was right in the middle of COVID when Formula One came to Las Vegas to talk to the LVCVA about bringing a race to Las Vegas. And ideally, they wanted it to be, I think, in May or June, which if in Vegas is hot. And for us, it's a great time of year already. We have great business in May and June. And so we worked with the LVCVA, Caesars, Wynn, MGM Resorts, to look through that whole calendar throughout the year and say, actually, the weekend before Thanksgiving is a historically slow, dead week in Las Vegas. Can we flip that into what is now one of the biggest weekends in Las Vegas, which is what we did. And so it took a lot of convincing, I think, from us to Formula One back to us on how we can make this work. But it really is a success story on how you can take one of the worst weekends and infuse it with sports and entertainment to create the best or one of the best weekends. It's only second to the Super Bowl this year.
Right, and then I know everybody has heard about the Taylor Swift effect, and so I thought interesting to back up with some data.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, I was reading the title again, that intersections of what brings it all home, right? Because again, a lot of markets are starting to do the same thing. So you have Austin's always been a music town, and their luxury side, their hospitality has always been geared with that music, and Nashville doing the same thing. But then Taylor Swift comes around and she does something that no one had ever done before, doing 3 nights in certain cities. And when we saw this in the data was just the pop that happened. And again, wasn't luxury hotels alone, it was every hotel in downtown Nashville saw a huge pop in ADR. And we're talking $100 plus versus a normal day. And depending on the day, it was even higher, and depending on what show. And what I thought was fascinating about it is that whoever the event planners were, probably was also the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well, plus all the promoters and everything, they did over a weekend. So not only you had like Sunday, which is historically your weakest night, right? And that's when she was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we watched the data, it was just the most amazing thing we'd ever seen. And we had never seen anything quite like that, just a pop in ADR. And then we started writing a lot about it, and then it all became the whole Swiftonomics. And then other countries are talking about it, saying that it really did move, a GDP for certain parts of the world and certain parts of the market. But that's again, that intersection, it created such a demand.
Right.
And it was such an event, almost like F1, you wanted to be there. You want to say, I saw Taylor play in the rain at Nissan Stadium, and I waited 3 hours for her to come out, but she came out. And it's that badge of honor, I guess, saying I was there. And I think that's what's driving a lot of this.
And when we're looking at these types of events, it's easy because we're sitting in Vegas, and here obviously we have some of the world's most famous singer, or we have big sort of theatrical events. But like you mentioned, this happens around the world and certainly around the country. And when we're talking about, whether if it's like the Oscars in LA, right? There's certain events where you just know that the entire world is flocking to a location. So if we were to sort of look at this, maybe how it's relevant to everyone in this room and how we can sort of piggyback on or even kind of create our own demand, I think that's really sort of where people like Tiffany comes in, where it's truly about deciding, okay, we want to do an event. Somebody might reach out to her and say, hey, we want to do something special in and around, let's say, the Super Bowl or around one of these things, and reaching out. So how do we create like a really special, unique experience and then sort of reverse engineer essentially to your benefit? So maybe you can talk a little bit about how the crazy phone calls you get and the even crazier executions you manage to pull through, which are amazing.
Well, first back to what we were talking about earlier about the incredible job Vegas has done sort of melding sports and entertainment and having it have such a huge effect on the economy, the population, everything here. We work with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is the official sort of organizing body of any population over 30,000 people. So nonpartisan group, and they created a Mayor's Legacy Award for sports. And we, myself and my partner, had the honor of presenting the first award, excuse me, to Mayor Goodman, the Mayor's Goodman last week, for their efforts and their role in turning Vegas into what it is today. So that was pretty special. As far as getting those phone calls in the middle of the night, yes, we do that. We've been doing that for 30 plus years. I would say you need to know what the person's asking. You need to be able to be in a position to say you're crazy and that won't work.
Give us an example.
You know what? We very rarely do that, I have to say. Well, I will give you an example. So if someone's got a bunch of money in their budget and they say, oh, we want to go to Times Square and we're going to have a little mini concert and John Mayer's going to be there and we're going to have all the jumbotrons. It's our job to say to them, what are you expecting to get out of that? Because once you go through the hoops of permitting and it's Times Square, it's something's changing every 5 seconds. So it's not going to have any impact. People are going to look up for a minute and go, eh. So it's good to grow that trust with the people that we have these opportunities with, where they say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Another example, yesterday I was on the phone with the National Rugby League from Australia. They're coming to Vegas, and they want to do a big conference in 2 months. And, and while we are all on board to help them do that, we're huge advocates. We're really excited about rugby being introduced to this country. It was sort of, and they want Tom Brady to speak, and they want Dana White to speak, and that's great. But we had to kind of steer them in the direction of, you know what, you would have a bigger impact with a smaller group. Maybe find a sponsor so you don't have to sell tickets. You can invite people and have it be a more high-level experience, and you'll get a better room and you'll have more results, and then you can grow from there. So I don't know if that exactly answered your question.
And also I think one of the interesting thing, obviously I've been lucky to been invited to some of these Super Bowl parties, or the beach of Miami throwing sort of a musical event, and sort of really astronomical and kind of crazy production that you're sort of managing to put together on sort of, I'm going to say like for a 2-3 day event, but you're changing the entire landscape. In the case of South Beach, it really was, so who makes the phone call to you, and how do you sort of plan that part of the business? Because many times it is exactly the events where we're talking about. There's usually obviously a hotel blocking room in the, a luxury hotel nearby, or many of them. And then you do have the sports stars. There's usually a lot of artists coming to sort of be the entertainment. So I feel like in the way of actually being able to pull together some of the world's biggest names for these events, how would somebody go about doing it? Because we know that you will tell them if they, you need to change path. But how do you create one of these events, and how should somebody go about it? Or do you help them create the experience, or do they come fully baked?
So my company is the executive producer of outcomes. So whatever that outcome is going to be, we are not in there. Sometimes we're hiring the talent, but most generally we're not. We're going to the correct person for that. We're generally not wrapping the vehicle. We might be going out and buying the vehicle and getting the insurance on it, but we're not wrapping the vehicle or fitting it out with the coffee brand's interior needs. So we have the experience behind us to bring the right group together to accomplish what you're looking for. But at the same time, we as a group are very adept at jumping in when, for example, something doesn't show up for the iHeartRadio Music Festival and it's opening in 8 hours, and you're going to every Walmart in Las Vegas to try to find an alternative display case. And I just had to.
That never happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Never happens. That was year one at the festival grounds. Yeah. So, and as far as, I have a really sort of full circle fun story sitting up here with Andrew, because we had a really robust kind of trade show, activation, museum focused company here long ago, and then we kept a presence here, but we kind of moved out to New York and started doing more in the sports and entertainment world. Had an opportunity back here in Vegas with Sharon Osbourne that thankfully never materialized. But in the meantime, we're standing on all this pavement, and MGM's looking at us saying, okay, what do we do with this? And the festival grounds were born out of that, and a couple weeks later, I was on a plane with Las Vegas Events, MGM, Martin Harris Construction, off to Portugal to meet with the Rock in Rio people, and we now have the festival grounds, which are still, Amazon's over there, the festival grounds. Amazon's over there with their huge convention right now. It's 26 acres of blacktop that we turned into a massive and really amazing event space, and Taylor Swift on the zip line going. So that was 2015.
So when, I'm going to say this is open to all of you from different angles. What are sort of some of the emergent trends, or what do you see working, or where do you see like, okay, this is an opportunity that you can sort of create something out of nothing?
I don't know if it's an emerging trend. I keep listening, and it's just knowing your customer, right? Especially when you think about luxury hotels, we're all here about luxury hotels, is what is it that will cement that relationship with your customer? So is it Taylor Swift? So Taylor may be a Holiday Inn Express kind of customer, so you may not want her at Bellagio. I think you do, but in case you know, you may not, right? But it's understanding. I think that's
I'll
what.
take her wherever.
Yeah, I think it's like going back to my marketing hat and thinking of you start with the customer in mind and how that's going to enhance, and everything you showed me 2 weeks ago for F1, because I happened to be here 2 weeks ago again, and it was great because I understood it completely. I understood where you were coming from because I had no idea what you were talking about when we had the conversation on the phone. And so, but it goes, hey, you guys are very customer focused, and I think that's the same thing. And then also the other piece I keep hearing here is that it's a lot of planning. It's not haphazard. It's not like, hey, guess what? Taylor Swift is coming to town. Should we do something? You guys have been planning it for months.
Yeah, I mean, even just yesterday, we had I think our first kickoff meeting for planning of the 2025 Formula One in Vegas, and so it is no rest for the weary. But it is the customer, right? I mean, I think from our perspective, and we have resorts all over the world, and we see this everywhere. But you know, we kind of built these massive resorts, and everything inside them is massive, right? We have showrooms that are massive. We have restaurants that are massive, and we're starting to see, especially in luxury, people wanting, you know, unique, smaller, exclusive experiences. And so you'll see things like Venetian with the Voltaire. You know, we have the Vault at Bellagio that most people don't even know about, but it's like a 5 or 6 table, you know, speakeasy bar that's hidden away behind the cashier's cage in the Bellagio. And, you know, people are looking for, you know, I don't want to be at the place with 10,000 people. I want to find the cool, unique, one-off, you know, special thing that nobody gets access to. And so we're starting to take some of these bigger spaces that we had and break them into, you know, smaller pieces and smaller experiences where people can really feel like that was made for them.
Yeah, we created a new conference based around sports, entertainment, and innovation this past year. We were partnered with UNLV, which is really cool, and Syracuse University. UNLV is out there with their hospitality group right now. So, but we, you know, when we first started talking, and again, back to a point Andrew made earlier, there's a dead week kind of in July, go figure.
Wonder why.
It's 120.
Right, yes. So the powers that be of Las Vegas went to the UNLV Sports Innovation Institute group and said, we need to fill this spot, so figure something out. And a little fairy dust from Las Vegas Events brought us all together, and we produced this conference to fill that week, which is sort of in tandem with Summer League basketball. But, and I completely forgot where I was just going with that point, but.
Customer luxury.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the
experience.
sizes. So yes, so when we were first meeting with Las Vegas, and they were saying, well, you know, how many people are you expecting? And we said, well, the first year, stick around 2,000. We don't want to get too big. And they said,
So
this
they
is
can
gonna
put you in that speakeasy, basically, then? No.
Yes, exactly. Definitely the speakeasy comes in. So no, they were saying in our press release, Tina Quigley, LVGEA was saying, this is going to be the next Comdex. And we're all like, yes, this is going to be the next Comdex. We had the event. It was really great for the first year event. It was really great for an any-year event, actually. We had about 700 attendees, and to the person, we heard, please don't expand this any larger than it is, because this is such a great and intimate, you can interact, you can actually see people, and so we listened to our guests, and that is exactly what we're doing, so.
And I'm going to point to Rachel. This is what we're talking about. How do you make it not homogenized, right? If you know your customer, then you can intersect it so it doesn't become homogenized. We were talking earlier about Taylor Swift. It benefited everyone, but maybe there was a way that the luxury hotels in Nashville could have made it tailored for a very special, intimate experience. I think that's the key. I didn't think about that till just now.
Yeah, and even I mean, we had BTS was another one, right? And BTS took over the city, and it was, how do we create for subsegments of the people who are going to see this concert unique little one-offs? And we did like a special noodle shop, for people who wanted to go and try the BTS noodles or whatever. I mean, I'm not a BTS fan by any means, but it was less about how do we cater to everybody. It was more about what are the segments that are going to this that we want to highlight within each of our brands.
And I thought to break this down maybe in a way that, again, going back to sort of the room and everybody is here. Like, so this is all great, right? You have like Las Vegas as your playground, or you have LA for the Oscars. But like, how can you do something to piggyback on this, sort of knowing that there is financial upside? How can you create something? And I'm just going to give the smallest example that I've run into, which was a small owner of a hotel out in Brooklyn, not particularly good area, but he has a cool idea. It's called BPM, Beats Per Minute. He loves music. It's really a modest hotel, and he's probably 15 minutes by subway or bus from the Barclays Center. But what he does, he follows that calendar, whether if it's sports or music, and he customizes playlists, and he makes sure that I'm going to use Swift just since we're all talking about it. She did not play the Barclays. She obviously paid something much bigger, but he would kind of create something like a drink or like a food thing, just to sort of have something relevant, and then run a lot of social media and hashtagging and sort of chasing that. So I think there is a way to take this, no matter what your size of your hotel, no matter who your guest is, just being aware of that there are calendars, whether it's for music, sports, entertainment, or even conferences. How can you pick and choose and sort of piggyback on it? And one very sweet, it's in London, so ABBA has their hologram thing, and a friend of mine happens to own a hotel there, and they just decided that they were going to do ABBA nights. So they are like a known ABBA sort of sing-along music, Swedish food. I'm Swedish, so I don't recommend, but they sort of, so there is a way to sort of piggyback on things that aren't necessarily yours, that you created, but a way for you to just think creatively and kind of revenue manage and kind of create something around it. So just wanted to throw that out because we would love some questions from the audience.
Can I just add one?
Yeah.
I want to add one more thing,
Yeah.
just because that speaks kind of to the sports side or the
Yeah.
entertainment side. On the sports side, I think you would be amazed at just even the college football alumni groups. I mean, college sports, anything. These, for example, we had Syracuse play UNLV this year, and the Syracuse alumni group came out in force, and they have money to spend, and they are happy to spend it if they have the right experience. So I would encourage, I mean, the NFL takes their top suite holders, and they'll bring 40 of them on a trip, and they'll let them fly with the team, and they'll do dinners, and there are a lot of experiences that they took over, and not just Vegas-centric at all. I mean, in London now, they've got their big presence too, so they're doing similar things in London, taking over luxury spaces. So I would encourage that avenue as well.
And that's like activation, but then you have something like Sage's Raleigh Hotel in Denver, which is all right there by the stadium, and it's all baseball themed. It is the coolest hotel. You go, this is really awesome, and they've taken that, saying, hey, this is our unique position within this marketplace. We're going to make it baseball.
Yes.
So I would love to hear your question. Vad sa skål? Skål! Självklart. Cheers. I'm so sorry. He's just from Miami.
Yes, I am.
Our numbers are skewed. Here.
Okay. So how do you reconcile a luxury environment? And you touched on it, but in the Las Vegas concept, when you have an ongoing, like my hotel is not a SLS, but that type of lifestyle hotel that has a day pool activity and a night pool entertainment, when your audience is not homogeneous, because you can't tell people you can't come in, you can't afford my ADR otherwise, but because I have the entertainment venue that's part of my brand, I now have to bring in people that may not necessarily, let's say, align with what my other guest matrix is. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's taking this one? Basically asking, how do you cater an event when maybe your entire audience isn't sort of the target audience? Is that sort of the right way? You mean, so it's like a reoccurring kind of something that you're putting on? Right. So again, I think it goes back a little bit to what you were mentioning about the speakeasy version. Like you might be able to segment off. And one thing I can tell from being in a hotel is price points tend to be a very good differentiating way to not tell people you're not invited, but it becomes sort of based on the price, you're sort of targeting your audience innately.
And what I heard was your audience is different, right? So you have my age group staying at the hotel during the day, but then Deadmau5 playing that evening. But what I would say is, again, well, I love music,
He's
so
very hip.
I'm probably different from most of my age group. But I think there's a way to still inform your guest about that opportunity. Hey, there's a band that is really hot that you might want to know because your grandkids will probably enjoy this music, and maybe intersect it that way and do that little, what we're talking about, little VIP, saying if you want to go, I can get you a space where you won't be in the masses. So kind of make it again exclusive. So when they go home, they say, you won't believe this, but I saw Deadmau5, and the kids are going to go, you saw Deadmau5? And it creates that vibe, like, oh my God. And I think that may be a way, again, push them there without pushing them there, and not alienate them. Say, yeah, you don't like them.
Then the choice is theirs,
Right.
essentially.
And I do think whatever the group is, there will be sub-segments of that group that are your customers. And so it's really identifying who they are and what excites them, and then creating your venue as the place that attracts them to it. So, if it is a Taylor Swift concert and it's a bunch of kids, and you don't want a bunch of kids at your property, but you can create different experiences, whether it's through sponsorship groups that follow Taylor Swift, or different elevated events that only cater to a smaller but more powerful subset of your customers.
Dan from Paradox, could you close the door? No.
Other questions?
So one of the things I just wanted to sort of build on, because I would love to see another couple of questions, which I think, Tiffany, you brought up an interesting point. When you speak about college football or anything that kind of can be more locally relevant, whether that's even something as little as sort of pee-wee something, right, in your hometown, there are ways, if you're creative, to, especially in sort of that shoulder season or downtown, where you can create an event in combination where it's more open door as opposed to a closed event, where you just kind of supporting a local thing in your town. And it could be anything from, hey, this is the karaoke night and we celebrate sort of, or we donate things to the local hospital or whatever. So I think the way of thinking of events, sports, entertainment, even if it just means that, I'm going to sidetrack. My husband is a Colts fan. We live in New York City. Nobody but him cares about them, I think, period, in the world. But anyway, there is a sports bar in New York City that is a Colts home club. It sounds sad. We went on Christmas Eve one year. But so the thing is, you're able to create something truly special and unique, even though you weren't sort of the catalyst of the event. But that bar manages to find anyone that cares about this sports team in that city, and it's hopping. So sometimes I think it's less about, like you're mentioning, that sort of you're in Vegas, you're in Miami, or you're in New York, but is there something you can add to just become the home of in your thing, whether that's in your restaurant or maybe you have a rooftop. Maybe there is something where you can engage people, that you just become that spot. So I think from the high level of the Grand Prix and the Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl, I think the idea should be able to, how does it translate to your property? And again, I'm looking at
Yeah,
one of the finer hoteliers with a great sort of destination-driven thing, and I think people come to that type of hotel, you know, with food and beverage in mind, right? But even that sometimes, and I know we don't have food, I'm going to call this in entertainment because I think chef and food-driven concept is part of entertainment today. They have TV shows, they have food lines. So I think the way that when you go sort of home to think of these things, what could you do? How could you just take, like that Monday night, how can you take something that isn't really generating the revenue by just having a little bit of creativity? So would love to hear if you have any thoughts on that.
And that takes data and research. That's one thing I think Vegas does very well. And Tiffany, in your job, I think that's where we might fall off as hoteliers. So if you have Chapel Roan playing it, you know, who is she? Find out. So that way your front desk can have a conversation. Hey, do you know Chapel Roan's playing tonight? She's a rising star. She had the largest audience ever at Lollapalooza last year, and have those facts all built in. And then now you're starting to create a conversation, but it takes research. Work with the promoters. Obviously, you probably have a promoter you're working with. See what they know about the artist coming in, and then build that knowledge, because then as your guests check in, you're giving them some facts. Hey, you know, Chapel Roan's the hottest thing there is right now. You might want to see her tonight.
Yeah.
And then just create a conversation. That's how I start thinking about marketing. It's like, that's what you want to do. And we have lots of data.
And all of these events, sporting events or Lollapalooza, they have GA tickets, but they're suites, and there are people who spend a lot of money to go see these groups. And so when you start looking at luxury, you know, it doesn't matter what the event is. Look at how the event is selling on that luxury side, and those are your customers that you want to go after.
Like the VIP tickets and
Yeah.
stuff. And then work with the brands, because a lot of the brands are now doing things with Live Nation and so forth, and they're starting to really activate that side as well. So, I mean, this whole intersection thing is just getting bigger and bigger. IHG is a big Live Nation partner, and you can get on stage with IHG. You can actually be on stage with touring bands and see it from that, and that's a unique perspective that people love.
And they sponsor the US Open as well.
Right, exactly right.
I wish we did.
I'm ex-IHG, FYI, I should be.
Yes, again, to your point, the access is key. Everybody wants access. Everyone wants to be with people that they would never get to be with, or have experiences they wouldn't normally get to have. And I forgot again my other train of thought because we're having such great.
No, but one of the things when we're talking about luxury hospitality, it's a very defined STR. You know, it's a luxury price point that has a cutoff and above, right? Many markets that where I like to use the word instead, top of market, because you may be in a market that isn't traditionally hitting sort of what's considered luxury by just an STR standard, which is certainly on the hotel side is what we're using. And you might have more of independent, right? An independent that is sort of the most luxury in that market, but may not warranted the luxury on, you know, let's say a Park Hyatt or a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons or, you know, something like that. So I think it's very important that I would also like to almost loop in lifestyle, because I think that has that aspiration that really can straddle kind of top of market sort of experiences.
And back to I remembered, back to the suites. There is also an association that represents all luxury suites in every stadium in the country. They could be a great resource. They're involved with all the teams, not just teams, because obviously these stadiums, you know, are multi-purpose. So it's a concert, it's a wedding, it's a corporate event, it's whatever that may be. They are representative of those groups of people. And back to the, you know, you've got something going on in your hotel, and you've got also a conference during the day and chapel at night, and So figure out a way to get those people from the conference here, you know, oh, by the way, you can get this, you know, the Inspire price for the Chapel Rowan concert tonight. So a lot of just different ways to be creative with those.
It's activation. I keep going. How do you activate it within the hotel?
I think that door opening might be the sort of the violins playing at the Oscars. Any sort of closing words, and how can people find you?
People can find me at, oh well, I mean, probably on my badge if you really want to find me. I don't think anyone wants to take my whole website down, but Circle is the agency, and it's just the website is We Are Circle, WEARE Circle, and we are based here in North Las Vegas, in New York, but we work globally. So, I'd love to talk to anybody.
There's not many Andrew Lanzinos. You can find me on LinkedIn.
And you can see me at 2 o'clock when we'll be talking to data
Oh, wait,
for
there's
luxury
more.
data. So there's more. So come at 2 o'clock at the innovation stage, and then you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, same. Thank you, everyone. And it was lovely meeting you all. And hopefully you found this a little bit sort of creative thinking inspiring. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.